And hi, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Outlook. I'm TWB. Well, after Obama's assertive presidential win last November, many say the future of the Republican Party is in danger. SOS, especially in light of cultural, social, and demographic shifts. Take a look.
I have just called President Obama to congratulate him on his victory.
A whole group of us, frankly, misunderstood what was happening in the country. We thought at 8% unemployment, or approximately 8%, with gasoline the price it was, et cetera, that it would be almost impossible for Obama to get reelected.
We want you to lead, not as a liberal or conservative, but as President of the United States of America. We want you to succeed. Let's challenge ourselves to find the common ground that has eluded us.
We must use all our tools of American power to protect our citizens and our interests. I believe, and I always have believed, that America must engage in the world, not retreat from the world, but engage from the world. My record is consistent on these points.
We'll get to those confirmation hearings in a second, but in light of the results of the presidential outcome and how divisive it was, should the GOP be worried? What is the future of the Republican Party in this country? Dee Dee, I'll start with you.
I think Marco Rubio.
Okay.
In fact, I think if we had run Marco Rubio, which was who I wanted actually.
Instead of Paul Ryan or instead of Mitt?
Yes, I think Marco Rubio should have been our candidate. I think he'd be president right now. I think it was that simple. It would have changed the it would have changed 70%.
Sure. Well, I mean, are you just saying
he would have been really wonderful?
He's Hispanic, that means if I'm Hispanic, I vote for him? I mean, I'm Caucasian. I don't necessarily vote
However,
white
but
all
he
the
doesn't.
time.
But he understands Hispanic issues a lot better than Mitt Romney did. And Mitt Romney didn't have the language down. He didn't present himself in the right way. He came across like he didn't care, the rich white guy, and it just didn't work well.
Right, but Obama's African American, but you're saying, but he was able to communicate.
But the reason I say that is because he's the only demographic we won.
Right.
So I think we just need to be very clear. And in the Republican Party, there are those of us who want to change a lot, and we've wanted to change for a long time.
Right.
So we have to kind of fight the old guard. So we do have a little war within our party right now. I mean, it just is what it is.
So what needs to be changed? I mean, because if you ask, I was reading an article where you ask a bunch of Republican representatives, what does the GOP stand for? And you'll get 20 different answers. I mean,
well, fiscal responsibility and getting the government out of our life, that's the big thing. I mean, and a lot of times we're hawks, but the problem is the language usually on the social issues, which drives me crazy. I hate to hear these Republicans talk, well, and of course, what really killed us is Todd Aiken talking about rape and women. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was furious. As a Republican woman, I'm like, who is this joker?
Totally.
I don't want anything to do with this guy. So that's what happened.
Right.
And then the Democrats, very aptly, Barack Obama was on Jay Leno talking about a Senate race, and because of this, but it worked. Women were like, forget it, because when they thought about the Republican Party, they thought anti-woman. That is a huge problem for our messaging, the words we use. I mean, we've really got to have better candidates and have a better plan.
Aiken just, he just
exactly.
forget it. That was
we think about a lot of my clients too, when they think about the Republican Party, they think anti-immigration.
Yes.
And it's too general of a term to assign to one party. But
if the term fits, or if it sticks, or if that's the stigma, we've got to change that. So that is what, as a party, what we have to do. And we have to make sure and elect the right people.
Right.
People who don't think that way. I don't want people who think that way.
Right.
So we, as a party,
but it's affiliation, I guess. I mean, you might not think that way, but the guy you're affiliated with does. So that's the problem. But let me ask you this. Let me throw this out to the panel. Has the country as a whole shifted to the left? James, what do you think?
I don't think so. People are saying the country now is left center, but when you look at this sort of historical political machinations over time, I think we're still more of a center-right country, to be honest with you. I think a lot of progressives would agree with me on that as well. People think of Obama as being liberal. Progressives do not think that Obama is liberal at all. And you look at some things like even this immigration piece. This is the reason why we can get the consensus, is because it's not the most progressive immigration piece. Anything that Obama has done recently, I think, has been moved towards the center, and I think folk on the left see it as center right, folk on the right see it as center left. I wouldn't want to put all of the sort of bad baggage of the Republican Party on Romney either necessarily, because when you look at all the presidential candidates, they were all anti-immigration. They were all talking about building fences, electrifying fences, all this crazy talk that turns people off. And you're right, the women's issue I think is more important in this election than immigration or about people of color, because when you talk about legitimate rape and you're talking about being really regressive about Planned Parenthood and women's health issues, that stuff is just not going to fly. Women are already right now 51% of the voting populace within this country. They're going to be somewhere around 52, 53% by the time we get to 2016. If you're going to cut out half of the voting populace, you're going to lose.
Sure. I was surprised Obama didn't thank Aiken directly in his acceptance speech. Thank you, Todd Aiken.
But he definitely talked about him on Jay Leno.
Right. No. But I mean, but you have to wonder. I mean, again, if you were in the Republican Party when you hear one of your
I was
They
furious.
cringed. Many
I was like,
Republicans.
you got to be kidding me. Is this really what we have? We can't find anything better than this.
That's the problem. That said, should we go to a three-party, a quadruple party system? I mean, what do you think, Paris? You think two is just it's the the best of the worst? I don't know.
Good question.
Thank you.
Good question.
I vote yes, right?
Because I vote no.
I vote yes because we talk so much about the Republican Party trying to represent its constituency, and they're not doing this, they're not reaching out to the right people. I think the same thing about the Democrats as well. I don't think the Democratic Party reaches out to its own constituency, not just folk on the left, but people who are sort of anti-NDAA, anti-drone attacks. You know, there are people in this country who are very much left of the Democratic Party. And so in that environment where you have, I think, a strong, growing group of like independents, people who are like Chris Christie, Bloomberg, those folk, I think people will start to rally around them. You got folks like who are libertarian, not Tea Party folks, but libertarians who I think are more sensible than Tea Party folks who are sort of on the right. And you got progressive parties like the Green Party on the left. I think that this system could withstand multiple parties, and I think it would do us a lot of good. And we just have to change the sort of the financing around campaigns, open up the system a little bit, and I think we would move towards a much more reflective form of government in America.
You think that's really viable, though? I mean, really.
You asked the question. Listen, you asked the question. That's what I'd like to see. I don't know how.
Well, if it's a new party, I hope it's the Progressive Party.
Right.
That would be great because you got two on the left and it's better for
I
us.
studied in school. The Whigs. What did they stand for? The Whigs. I don't know.
Well, the Whigs went away because they couldn't agree, which is what could happen with the Republican Party. So I think we have to fear the history of the Whigs because the Republican Party came in and took over the Whig Party.
With that, guys, let's throw to another piece. I believe it's about Obama wanting to work with the GOP. Let's take a look.
And in the coming weeks and months, I am looking forward to reaching out and working with leaders of both parties to meet the challenges we can only solve together. Reducing our deficit, reforming our tax code, fixing our immigration system, freeing ourselves from foreign oil. We've got more work to do.
Obama is looking to win GOP support that may be a hard-fought victory. Republicans in the House have made it clear they won't yield ground to the Democratic political program.
In these deeply polarized times, I don't think political capital exists. Certainly, Republicans showed no respect for the capital he presumably earned as a result of his stunning and overwhelming victory in 2008 elections. To a person, Republicans opposed him on virtually everything he tried to do.
Obama and Congress must agree by the end of March on increasing the $16.4 trillion debt ceiling. Obama has vowed not to negotiate over the debt ceiling, demanding that Congress raise it without drama.
And the question is the hardline stance of Republicans on gay marriage, abortion, is that just alienating women voters? I mean, I'm alienated.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes, it's just, because I'm more libertarian. I'm just like, do we really have to talk about these social issues like
that?
And
it's always so obsolete.
And it's always the men, the Newt Gingriches and the Santorums, these people's like, look, I'm one of the Republicans, I'm the new Republican. I'm like, look, I'm over this. Because we are going to go away if that is who's controlling everything. And I've just had it.
So how do we reach out to the minorities? Aside from immigration reform, to the Latinos, to women, how do we, if you're the GOP?
I think it's less about concern about messaging and more about what are your policies. We always talk about this the uninformed voter, but actually voters are paying a lot more attention than people think, and that's clear by how people are voting. So for like the Republican Party, again, you need libertarians to sort of silence the Tea Party and really move away from some of those social issues, because this country has moved beyond debates about whether or not women should have access to birth control. Beyond, for the most part, this country is in favor of having legal access to abortion. And so why are we rehashing debates that in many ways have already been settled? Right. And you're right. Top-heavy politics, and it's not just Republicans, top-heavy politics in both parties unfortunately, their partnership with lobbyists and special interests dictates too much of what we're talking about.
So let's talk about who the most viable candidates are for the upcoming elections. You mentioned Rubio.
Yeah, definitely
Christie.
Marco Rubio already.
Do you think that Ted Cruz is encroaching on the golden boy status?
I think he'd like to.
He'd like to, for sure. But do you think that
he's trying hard
is
now?
Okay.
No, I don't think so. But he definitely is
star power.
very aggressive, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's very
And
ambitious.
I know Ted because when I worked at the
That's
White
why he
House,
worked with you,
he was
that's
in the
right.
Bush administration, so I've known him for a long time. He's a great guy.
Was he that ambitious that
Yes,
early on? Okay.
Ted Cruz has always been that ambitious.
What about Jindal?
I love Bobby Jindal. I think he's great.
He doesn't have the charisma of these other
yeah,
guys,
but
in my
agree.
opinion.
You know, remember the speech whenever he
my
gave
God.
the
But he's
counter
a
to the
different
Face,
president?
though. You know, he's a different face. I mean, he kind of reaches that Indian segment as well.
Yes,
so I mean, I
Southeast
think
Asian.
part of it also is, you know, who is saying the message. I mean, that's very
Credible
important too,
message.
because
Right.
people can't identify necessarily with somebody like Romney, for example. A lot
Right.
of people had
Right.
problems identifying with
Right.
him.
They
But-
didn't connect with him emotionally at
Yeah.
all
I didn't like
because
Romney as a
right.
candidate
well,
for your party.
as a, I was upset because he just never made it. He was never able to connect. I'm just like, we're in big trouble here
Yeah.
because you just can't, you know, feel it.
Right.
Where Obama's so good at that.
Right,
Don't
right.
agree with his policies at all, but politically, he's a
Yeah,
genius.
you film.
That's right.
All right, guys, we're out of time on this topic. We didn't get to the fact that Sarah Palin was just dropped from Fox
And
Fox
so it
News channel.
goes.
So it goes. So maybe we'll get to that at a later date. When we return to Fresh Outlook, there's some controversy brewing across the pond. Could the UK be leaving the European Union? That's next. Stay with us.